Okay, we'll see if people have questions first, but let me run this quickly again. You'll get some emails through the week reminding people, not to click on exams and blah, 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 same stuff you always get. But tomorrow, extra exam, which is practice for the final, can't hurt your grade, replaces an exam you've missed, or replaces an exam you made a lower score than you wanted on. And homework closes tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. and I'll start getting homework grades ready. Final exam, everybody takes the final, nothing can replace it. The extra exam cannot replace the final, everybody has to take the final. It will open at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. It will close at 11:59 p.m. on Friday. You pick your day and time. 2 hours, but basically everything else is the same. 2 tries per question. If you take it on Wednesday, you can't take it again later in the week, et cetera, et cetera. It's a one-shot deal. It'll open and close. There is a practice final up now. It's untimed. I'm not going to do a timed practice final, but what I did for that was go through your exam 1, exam 2, exam 3 in WebAssign and basically duplicate those, which means similar questions, different number kind of thing, and patched those together, so that the practice final looked very much like your old exams, which it should. And that's in the practice exams folder in Blackboard. Like I say, it's untimed. It's like the homework. It's not 2 tries per question. It's just go in and practice. I think you can also still access all of your old untimed practice exams. So you've got stuff to play with to get ready for the final. And then I'll be doing office hours this week on Zoom. 6 o'clock Wednesday, 1 and 7 on Thursday. Other times by appointment, just shoot me an email. We can always chat. And then a reminder to the trig class only, your second identity is due by the end of the day on Friday for your final. If you've already done both of those, then they're checked off in Blackboard. I have not put exam 3 grades in Blackboard yet. Crap just kept cropping up this weekend and I didn't get that done. It has to be a different one than the one you gave me for exam 3. You have to eventually work 2 different identities. If you've already done them both, fine. If you sent me 2, but only one of them was correct, I counted the correct one for exam 3, sent you the other one back for revision. And the deal is still holding. If you want to send me your one for the final to look at and then send back for possible revision, fine. I will look at anything for possible revision until 8 o'clock on Thursday. I don't want to get into what I got into, not often, but a time or two this last time. People at the last minute wanting to send their identity in on the day of the exam last Friday and kind of expected it back for revisions. Well, if you waited till the last day, you pays your money, you take your chances. But anything I get before 8 p.m. on Thursday, I will look at it. And if it is not okay, I will send it back to you to take another shot with comments on it. If you sent me 2 and neither of them were okay for exam 3 and I sent them back, those are still in play for you for the final. I mean, anything that you haven't done correctly and I've checked off and said to you, this one was okay, then, you know, any of those are fair game for the final. And I just left those in the exam folder where they've been, where you can go look at them. I think they're also in the homework folder too. They're in several places, but one of those by Friday. So this is the last day of classes. So we do not do anything at 8 o'clock again, unless you've gotten in touch with me and we need to meet, you know, individually to talk about questions or something. But this is our last regularly scheduled class meeting. So you won't be getting any more Zoom links from me for 8 a.m. for everybody. Question, problem about the rest of our deal here. The final covers everything. Like I say, it's where I got the practice final was versions of your exams 1, 2, and 3, which came from homework stuff. So it's all tied together. Any question from Zoom folks? Okay. What do we need to, oh, I want to take a picture of this so I can put it up for other classes. And for them, I don't want them to see this identity thing. So erase that and do that. Okay, and I'll save to the screenshots the one that has the thing about your identities on it later. Okay, what do we need to talk about in terms of questions that are still lurking around from something? Related to whatever. I've got a couple of things that popped up on the identities that I want to say something about after everybody else has their shot at questions, if any. Zoom folks, in-class folks, anything? Okay, well, let me say a couple of specific things about identities. Some people have, quote unquote, looked in the back of your book, gone online or whatever, and found some identity that says secant squared is equal to tangent squared plus 1. I think that's the way it goes. I don't memorize these other guys. I derive them if I need them. But there's one that involves secant squared and tangent squared. You can't use that in your identities that you're showing me unless you prove that that is true. That is not an identity that we take for granted in here. We take for granted that the secant is 1 over the cosine, the cosecant is 1 over the sine, the tangent is 1 over, or sine over cosine, sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to 1. Those basic definitions, or the Pythagorean guy, sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. This, if you use this, you have to prove it just like any other identity, step by step, if you want to use it. You can't just stick it in there and say, we know this is true, blah, blah, blah. That people have gotten that back, or several people have gotten that back because they just said, here, this is true. Well, you got to show me that's true. The other thing, we talked about this last week, every time you write a trig function, it has to act on an angle, whatever that angle is called, X or theta or alpha, beta or whatever. If you have a ratio, a sine over a cosine or whatever, you cannot write the sine over the cosine and then out beside it, write the angle once. That is not correct notation. Every single trig function has to have its own statement of the angle. That is basically equivalent to just writing sine over cosine and not putting any angle. So don't do that. Every trig function gets its own statement of the angle. The top guy is the one I saw more than anything on things that were coming in that I sent back. But this cropped up also, and I guess we'll call this cautions related to the identities, if you're still working on one. Questions about those? Questions about anything else related to the identities? Because other than that, I don't have an agenda. I don't want to talk about stuff that people are comfortable with. But I don't want to not talk about something you have a question about. Anything? Okay. Let me just thank everybody for what has been a really, really good class this semester. People have come face to face, people have come on Zoom, people have come to office hours, you've asked questions, you've done what I asked you to do in WebAssign. People have done well on the exams. This class has just been so easy to deal with, so pleasant to deal with, and just a delight this semester. So thank you for that. I've enjoyed it immensely. Please stay in touch. Let me know what other classes you're taking and how things are going in terms of progress towards your degree and stuff. And if you need me down the road for something, to ask a question about whatever, don't hesitate. My UALR email will stay the same. And shoot me an email, and if I can help or answer your question, I will be more than happy to do it. Cool. Well, I'm going to hang around for a few minutes just in case somebody's running late. But if you have no questions, we're done officially. And or if somebody on Zoom wants to hang around and chat about something after everybody else is gone, also okay. Good luck on this final and all your other finals. Morning.
I'm so sorry.
It's no, so I'm hanging around. The people who were here didn't really have any questions. So hang on just a minute, I'll check the chat. The extra exam 12:01 a.m. tomorrow to 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night. Yes.
And that is the final exam, or?
No, that's that extra exam. Here's where we were first, and have a seat because if you have questions, because I told people I'm going to hang around in case anybody wants to show up and ask questions. Extra exam replaces low exam, practice for the final, replace an exam you missed, yada, yada. That's tomorrow. Can only help, can't hurt. So I always tell people if it were me, I would take it. Homework closes tomorrow night, and then from Wednesday to Friday, you get to pick your final. And I erased it here because I want to save this for all my other classes, but don't forget, for the final exam, you all have one more identity to get to me. Some people have already done them both, blah, blah, blah. I will this week look at them and send them back for revision, just like I did last week and whenever they first went up, until 8 o'clock Thursday night. I don't want to be trying to get revisions back while people are trying to panic finish the exam on Friday. But anything that I get before 8 o'clock Thursday, I will look at it, and if it's not okay, send it back and say, you know, think about this, whatever. Office hours, Wednesdays and Thursdays this week, and any other time that somebody shoots me an email. And then a couple of things that had turned up on the identities. This secant squared, tangent squared relationship, people are using it, and I'm happy if people use it, except you have to prove it to me if you're going to use it. You have to treat it like another identity. I think we'd already said that. I'm not sure, but I was still seeing it. And then we also talked about the fact that every time you write a trig function, it's got to have an angle with it. A couple of people tried to, if it was sine over cosine, just sort of write the angle once out to the side instead of writing it next to every trig function. No, you can't do that. So I wanted to make sure I said something about those. And other than that, nobody had any questions about the final or anything else. So I said I would hang around for a while and see if anybody did show up either in person on Zoom with a question. So anything you had a question about that we need to talk about?
I think that's it. I just need to get the homework in, which I don't have any actual in classes tomorrow, so I can just.
Oh, cool. Okay. And for full credit, you have to have 90% of that, not 90% of every assignment, but 90% overall done. That gets you full homework credit. And there's also a practice final up now in the practice final folders, in Blackboard. What I did last night was go through and basically duplicate your 3 exams, which means WebAssign finds similar problems, different number kind of thing. And I just glued those together and put it in as a practice final. And it's also practice for the extra exam, blah, blah, blah. But it's not timed. I will not do a timed practice final. I just want everything open now. But it's untimed, so you can go in and do a few and go out and come back and whatever. And it's set like the homework, umpteen bazillion tries at every problem. It's just like, here's some more problems related to your old exams if you want to do some more practicing for the final. And I set that to close when the final closes on Friday night. So it's open till then. And as always, yes, people come to office hours, but if you have questions other times, send me a thing from inside WebAssign or shoot me an email and we can set up a Zoom and, you know, chat. So you're not stuck with those office hours. But this will be our last 8 a.m. regularly scheduled anything. So you won't be getting any more 8 a.m. Zoom invitations, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Well, thank you. I will be sure to take a look at that practice exam.
Yeah. I would, I mean, if you have time, I would do it, and I would also do the extra exam, just because again, it can't hurt anything, and it's some more extra practice for the final.
Yes, I'm sorry. This thing was acting up.
There are days when devices don't work worth a darn. Turn that